Hi everyone, welcome. John from CLUBMAP. Thanks for joining us tonight. As I said before, happy Monday. Hope you all had a good weekend. It's all about fundraising tonight, and we love this one because it's co-presented with our partners, the Australian Sports Foundation. We also, as we do every week, like to acknowledge our other major partners, Active Queenslanders Industry Alliance, for their ongoing support. Now, fundraising the traditional way is tough. Most organisations that we work with one-on-one haven't changed the way they raise funds, generate revenue in sometimes since the 90s, sometimes even earlier. At CLUBMAP, whether it's fundraising or any of the other topics that we cover in our webinars, we're all about working smarter, not harder, especially when you're talking about trying to raise enough funds to pay the bills, improve your organisation, grow your sport, upgrade your facilities, whatever you need to contribute to. Sometimes the old way of doing things just doesn't quite cut it. I'll formally introduce Ryan from the ASF shortly, but tonight we hope to show you some ways to transform the way you go about it, ease the workload a little bit, and show you some ways how clubs and organisations of all sizes can utilise the ASF to take your fundraising to a new level. So just a bit of housekeeping, remain on mute as we go through, but by all means throw any questions, comments, experiences with fundraising you've had in the chat as we'll go, and we'll hopefully get to those either as we go, or we'll have plenty of time at the end for Q&A. And if you haven't done so already, let us know which club or organisation you're tuning in from. And always good to see everyone and the reach we're having and where everyone's tuning in from. I know there's a number of first timers here tonight, so a little bit about us. What is CLUBMAP? We are all about support, education and direction for community sport. Those tailoring the solutions, focusing on the how. We like to say we don't just give you fish, we show organisations and clubs how to fish. This is a bit of the journey that we've been on. As you can see down the bottom here, a number of different key points in our personal journeys, members of the CLUBMAP team. It just shows the depth of the experience that we've had, whether it be at community level or professional level. It's bringing that experience and simplifying it down for community sport. And TD Solutions was officially launched in 2015, rebranded a couple of years ago, and just the reach that we've had since. I think we've had over 3,500 clubs tune into our webinars and workshops, and from, believe it or not, 77 different sports or organised activities, which is fantastic. This is the journey through our webinar journey, the path to success that we like to call it. The first step is to join one of our webinars, learn a bit about us, get some free tips, some education, hopefully some new ways to do things at your clubs and organisations. Step two, which we'll touch on later tonight, is anyone who tunes into one of our webinars, we give you a free club health check, which is a great exercise to go through to understand exactly where you're at, but also the opportunity to have a free chat with our club expert, Ricky. So, which is a great way to start the conversation around where you are at, but also what the next steps are and the best path and some of the quick wins that your organisations can have. We do share this one. Apologies if you're coming back again as a repeat viewer, because we do share these important stats off the top every week. And this is why community sport across the country is struggling. 9 out of 10 volunteers haven't had any official club admin education. 9 out of 10 clubs haven't changed the way they fundraise. Sometimes, like I said before, since the 90s, sometimes earlier. And that's the focus of tonight. Obviously, clubs just haven't got a plan in place. Most clubs have 3 to 4 people doing all the work. Most clubs don't have a budget. All of that leads to the burnout, which I'm sure some of you have experienced or are experiencing. And this is how we address it through a number of our webinar topics, workshops, working one-on-one with clubs. The 7 elements of a successful club: people, finances, which we've touched on, people and an element of revenue last week with grants. The week before with grants, last week volunteers, and tonight is all about revenue as well with fundraising in particular. So we'll touch on a number of these other major elements as we work through the series. This is what we're covering tonight. So the traditional fundraising pressures, how to shift your revenue model, your fundraising model at your organisation. Then we'll get right in to give you a bit of background to the ASF and how to prepare a fundraising campaign, some success stories, just how to utilise the Australian Sports Foundation, which is one of the great untapped resources and best kept secrets around the country in community sport. And as always, we finish with some Q&A at the end. So just a reminder, any questions you've got for either us or Ryan as we go through tonight, feel free to throw them in the chat and we'll open up at the end for some discussion as well. So as I mentioned off the top, traditional fundraising is hard work. It's often left to the executive committee, treasurer, president, who often obviously have demanding roles around the organisation as is, let alone trying to raise some funds on top of that. They can be, traditional fundraisers can be time consuming. You're often going back to the same well, the same people who buy your memberships, all those sort of things, but also the same way or the same fundraising activities that you've done in the past. That same well can just get a bit dry quite often. They are great community exercises. We always say this, your sausage sizzles, chocolate drives, those sort of things. But unfortunately, particularly if you're in a larger sport where you might have to pay referees or umpires every week, you might have to pay players, you might have to pay coaches, all these sort of things. If you're looking to fundraise to put in a new scoreboard or other facility upgrades, unfortunately, they just don't hit the mark in terms of the funds that are required. So, which is where we sort of get to tonight, and hopefully potentially shifting the way you think about it. So we whenever we touch on fundraising or a revenue topic, we always share this slide because it is a bit of it is a really important slide that we walk through. So this is how, in our experience, 95% of clubs, as I mentioned off the top, how they generate revenue. Some clubs will have a canteen or a bar, food, a beverage, barbecue, that sort of thing, those sort of elements. You'll have your registrations, your participant fees, participant memberships, whatever you refer to those as. You have 0 to 20 sponsors. Most clubs closer to 0 than 20. Might have some fixed signage up around your oval, your courts, your pitch, whatever it might be. 2 to 3 branding assets, selling some logos on playing apparel or on your balls, equipment, those sort of things, branding assets. Run 3 to 6 small fundraisers throughout the year, have 0 to 30 supporter members or social members at your club, and then apply for 0 to 3 small grants. Now, as I said before, that usually covers about 95% of the clubs that we encounter. Which is a good segue to tonight's first poll, which we do every week. I'll just launch this one. So as we do every week, we just like to get a bit of background about who's in and a bit of background about your organisations. So does the fundraising model displayed there reflect how your organisation generates revenue? Does your organisation currently raise funds through the Australian Sports Foundation? And how did you hear about tonight's webinar? So if you could just spend 20 seconds, answer those 3 quick questions, and we'll share the results as well, because it is important. I did mention before that the ASF tends to be one of the best kept secrets going around. Hopefully, we generally speak to the converted here a little bit, but at the same time, it'd be great to get an understanding of who's in the house. I'm not sure if those are coming through. Are you there? Sorry, Mark, are you there? I think I did see your face pop up.
On mine. Yep.
Hey, Mark, how you going?
Good, thank you. Yes, it's popped up on mine.
Beautiful. Yeah. So for some reason, there's a glitch with this Zoom that I can't actually see the results fitting in. So hopefully they're all ticking over. I might get you to quickly talk to those once I share the results. Hopefully that's time enough. if you could just talk to the first couple of questions, that'd be great, because I'm looking at zeros across the board.
Yeah, so our first question being, does the fundraising model displayed reflect how your organisation generates revenue? 44% have said yes, that's us. 50% have said somewhat, we have a few of those. And then we've got two lots of 3% saying we've shifted away from that model or they're unsure. So, we've got 94% who are in that boat, I would have thought.
Yeah.
The second one being, does your organisation currently raise funds through the ASF? 6% say yes, we do. 16% say we're registered, but they haven't really done anything. And so that leaves the bulk of people here who are really missing out on an opportunity that Ryan might be able to help us with. Yeah,
perfect. Thanks for that, Mark. Yeah, I mean, it's funny how often those stats line up. It's obviously different organisations have to raise different levels of funds throughout the year, so you won't have to do all of these, particularly some of the smaller organisations. But as I said before, 9.5 times out of 10, they all fit into one of these 8 buckets generally. This stuff is important by all means, but hopefully tonight we can show you some ways how you can potentially move away from this model a little bit, diversify somewhat, a bit of a funky term, but and add some. As a general rule, we tend to steer away from traditional fundraising. It can be. It is important, obviously, but as I said off the top, we are all about working smarter, not harder. And we do suggest to do 2 to 3 fundraisers, do them really well, and where possible, to shift your fundraising online, fundraise 12 months of the year, and which sort of segues us nicely into the Australian Sports Foundation, which ticks all those boxes. We are really proud of our partnership at CLUBMAP with the Australian Sports Foundation. We came together, it was early 2022, to basically guide Australian community sporting clubs to success. And so to steer us through a bit of the background and how to utilise their platform, I'd like to formally introduce Ryan Holloway, Chief Partnerships Officer at the ASF. Thanks for jumping in again, Ryan.
Thanks, John. Always good to be here on the CLUBMAP channel. It's always great to get together with you guys and speak to community and grassroots sporting clubs. So thanks again for having us.
No, not a problem. Always welcome, mate. I can imagine being fresh into a new financial year. It's been a pretty busy time for you guys, but that's not to say that tax deductible donations can be done at one time of the year. They can be done all year round. How is everything going at your end of things?
No, that's it, mate. You're right. We've just come out of silly season, end of financial year. So always a busy time of year for all sort of charities and non-profit organisations that are raising funds, I guess. But particularly for us, we do, on average, close to 40% of the entire year's donations done through the last 2 months of the year in May and June. So it keeps us very busy, and we actually help our grassroots and community clubs with end of financial year campaigns. So we helped onboard a lot of clubs during that period, that sort of April through June period. Lots of new projects, lots of new clubs registered, lots of fundraise for Australian sport, which was awesome. And now we're kickstarting into a new financial year and hit the ground running. There's still plenty of activity around, and that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that we create a bit more parity across the year in terms of fundraising for sport, and not just leave that mad dash towards the end. So yeah, but
perfect segue. Perfect segue. We like I said before, wherever possible, we do suggest particularly seasonal sports where possible to generate funds all year round. And it's a great time to get you guys involved, because to share some of that messaging. So over to you, mate. I'll take a back seat and learn some myself.
Thanks, mate. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but here we go again. And thanks again to CLUBMAP and for everybody that's on board tonight. And if you're new to CLUBMAP, really encourage you to get involved with John and the team at CLUBMAP and have a look at all the different offerings that they have. They're fantastic for community sport and really provide that support for the back end and administration of your sporting club that not too many organisations provide. And we're really proud at the Australian Sports Foundation to be able to partner with an organisation like CLUBMAP and be able to deliver these sorts of sessions. So thanks again, John, TD and team. It's always good fun. So The Australian Sports Foundation, thanks for giving me the time, everybody, out of your busy schedules. So we've been around, as John said, kind of one of the best kept secrets. We're hoping to be not a very well kept secret going forward. We want more and more clubs on the platform and athletes. There's roughly around 37,000 clubs, sporting clubs and organisations across our great country. And at the moment, we're working with around about 10,000, upwards of 10,000 year on year. So there's plenty of opportunity for us to grow. And for those of you that are with us tonight, some of you said you're with us and not raising funds. So hopefully we can right that ship. And for those of you who haven't signed up with the Australian Sports Foundation, we hope you get on board. So the ASF today, as I say, we've been around for about 37 years, since about 1986. We're Australia's leading sports fundraiser, not-for-profit and charity. We are a registered DGR. We are written into tax law, and we can provide a tax deduction for any monies raised for the development of sport in Australia. It really is that broad. So anything that your club needs in order to start a season, whether it's equipment, a new scoreboard, resurfacing of a ground, new facility, whatever it is, anything that helps develop sport, you can raise funds for the Australian Sports Foundation for. We provide all the tax compliance and governance with the ATO and the ACNC for funds that are raised through us. Your membership's free. You can register your club and jump on board and take advantage of the resources and different things like that we have there at your disposal. And our job is to really, as John said, make fundraising as easy as possible. In addition to that, we're also an advocate for philanthropy and fundraising into sport. And as such, we do various reports and things like that throughout the year. We've done a few. We did some off the back of the impact of COVID on community and grassroots sports. We did one more recently, this one here that we launched in May of this year, which is Your Sport, Your Say. So we found really that clubs are really under pressure. So you can see all these reports. I'll just flick to the next slide, John. The main findings out of this report really were that 1 in 4 small community grassroots clubs are considering closing their doors. We know that financial situations are very tight, that has a flow-on effect, and the risk is our community and grassroots sporting clubs. Rising costs of living, impacting participation, and moving many clubs towards insolvency without the ability to have money in the coffers. We're still seeing a decline in that teenage participation range, that 15 to 19, still getting that drop off there, tending to disengage with community sport. And we know that they're the people that we need to keep engaged in sport. Not only will they be our champions on the playing pitch, on the fields, on the courts, but they're also our future administrators, our future secretaries, presidents, committee members, secretaries. So it's important to keep them involved with the club. We know that volunteerism is a very big problem at the moment, and more administration is needed in order to be able to structure that up. And, organizations like CLUBMAP provide perfect tools to be able to do that. And in the lead up, all the talk about 2032 and this green and gold runway, we don't win flags, we don't win premierships and championships and gold medals and things like that without a strong grassroots community participation and volunteer base. And what clubs are screaming out for towards 2032 is exactly that: facilities, in order to be able to have more women and girls playing those traditionally male-dominated sports, to be able to have better facilities, to be able to, play and train year-round, and all of those things are really what we found in this report ahead of 2032. The clubs are after. So that's why philanthropy is so important to really be considered as part of the funding mix for your sporting club or organization. That number might seem nice and scary on the screen, $13.1 billion, but it's actually the opportunity. It's the opportunity that the philanthropic market offers Australia and Australian sport in particular. If we compare that to the sponsorship market, that's only about $780 million, the entire sponsorship market across the entire sporting scape, and it's actually in decline. Whereas philanthropy and giving is actually on a trajectory to be doubled. The federal government wants giving to be doubled by 2030. So, and particularly in structured giving, there's around about $2.5 billion that's distributed. They want that to grow to $5 billion by 2030. So the opportunity for philanthropy and fundraising to be part of a core revenue stream for your sporting club or organization, the time's now. And really, if you look at what we raised through the Australian Sports Foundation, and we're probably going to go just around about $80 million this financial year just gone, but it's still less than 0.7% of the tax deductible market. And if you look at comparable industries to sport, like the arts, they're getting somewhere between $280 to $300 million in donations and things like that through that sector. So we really feel like philanthropy has a big opportunity for Australian sport to help with those funding challenges, the key challenges that we've seen in some of our reporting. Just moving on there, John. So looking also to here, what else we're doing, I mentioned structured giving. Now, structured giving comes from those vehicles such as private and public ancillary funds and trusts and foundations where they can only give to a charitable entity. So the Australian Sports Foundation, what we've got is we've got a charitable trust, the Australian Sports Foundation Charitable Fund, as part of our mix, which allows us to take money from those entities that can only give to a charity, where sport is the driving force or the medium for advancing a charitable cause. Now, we know, having been involved in sport, that we do a lot of good work in this space. Not only do we promote health, we provide greater benefit to our communities. There's also different things that some organizations do, like scholarships for younger kids to play sport, advancing culture through multicultural programs and different things like that. So there's an ability to tap into some of that money through the Australian Sports Foundation also. If we have a look at our traditional platform, and anybody who is on the call tonight, only 6% of you, but anybody on the webinar tonight that is involved with us, we are continually trying to make improvements to our product and service through our fundraising platform. So essentially, as the Australian Sports Foundation, we do run an online fundraising platform. Your club registers with the Australian Sports Foundation. We provide you a login to the back end of our system, which allows you then to create fundraising project page, which goes live on our website, the links you can share, very shareable content and things like that, and online donation facility as well. So people come in, pay the donation for the benefit of your club to the Australian Sports Foundation, and then we grant the funds out to you. So some of the recent improvements that we've made to the platform, improving that digital. Everybody's using their digital wallets at the moment. So we've really got Apple Pay and Google Pay enabled now. We've just introduced direct debit as well as another payment method. And we've also looked at a different way for people to be able to request donations. So effectively be able to generate a donation request or invoice, if you like, for want of a better term, to be able to send direct to donors. So really, we're all about reducing the barriers to fundraising, making it easy, simple, and online. So how does it work? I hear you all asking, what's the catch here? Well, no catch. As I say, the membership's free. You sign up online, you get the fundraising platform, the tools, resources, our team there to support you. We've got a fundraising support team. We've got a team of experts as well. If you've got a large project where you feel like you need some more expertise, we've got that ability to be able to come out and coach people up, talk to committee members and boards and different things like that. We do retain a small percentage of the donations that come through, but 95% of what you raise goes back to your club. So, $100 comes in as a donation, we keep 5, we pass you 95. If you look at that compared to the market, generally the cost of fundraising is somewhere between 30 and 40% of donations retained. With the Australian Sports Foundation, it's only 5. And as I mentioned, we provide all that tools, resources, enablement, education on fundraising, as well as that regulatory compliance. In terms of strategic fundraising approach, this, some of you may have seen this. It's kind of very traditional in terms of that donor pyramid, or flip it upside down and call it a funnel, however you like. But this is how we like to teach our fundraising. I think it's important to note that you can really start your fundraising journey at any level of that donor pyramid. It's not necessarily, you need to take people through the stages. Ideally, for a first-time donor, you would want to get them up there to be giving you some major transformational gifts. I think the other thing that's important to recognize too is we use words like major and transformational giving. There is no set number for what constitutes a major gift. So for some clubs, $1,000 might be considered a major gift. For other clubs, it could be $1 million. So it really is many and varied, but this is where we like to sort of take people through this pyramid, knowing that that's underpinned by strategy or planning. So as we know, it's important to plan for everything that you do within your club or your organization. And so we feel like you need to have some sort of fundraising plan to underpin that as well. Now, we're not talking about War and Peace here. We're not talking about essays. simple as the strategy on a page to be able to say, yes, we're in fundraising for the right reasons and we want to structure it up. Acquisition of donors, the engagement of those donors, and then stewarding those donors, because 85% of people give to something because they're asked, and then of that 85% that give, 67% will give again if they are thanked properly. I mean, it's pretty common practice, right? If someone does something nice for you, you would expect a thank you. You do that in fundraising and it generally leads to repeat donors. And that's how we try and then take people up through that donor pyramid. Anybody who wants some more information on that, feel free to reach out to us. We can take you through that. As John rightly said, we're looking at how we can fundraise smarter, not harder. So we've been through earlier today in the webinar, this evening rather, in the webinar about the traditional methods, your chocolate drives, your sausage sizzles, your chook raffles, your chocolate wheels, all that sort of stuff that you do day to day at the club. And there's a time and a place for all that sort of stuff. But is it ultimately going to raise you funds that are significant enough for you to have an impact and do something right for your club? Probably not. By the time, and we mentioned before, volunteerism is on the decrease. So by the time you ask people for their time, schedule it in, source the prizes or the food or whatever it is and get it all done, you've cost yourself more than it was actually probably worth. With the online fundraising and the platform that we provide at the Australian Sports Foundation, we try and make it easy and efficient. It's really, we're the leading not-for-profit and charity for sport in the country. We've got all the tools, resources, compliance that you need, and the experts that can help you get there. So really our role is to enable and educate you on how to be the best fundraiser you can and arm you with all the tools that you need to go out there and actually be able to do fundraising easily and offer people a tax deduction for doing it. So getting started with the ASF is pretty easy. asf.org.au is our website that you can go to and sign up. You can just click Start Fundraising, should be in the top right-hand corner there. Make sure you've got your club credentials on hand. So just ABN, incorporation number, a couple of contact details for your primary users of the function. So a couple of committee members or what it is, whatever it may be. You can download the resources then as soon as you're logged into the back end of the portal. We've got all the fundraising resources there to help you kickstart your fundraising journey with us. Templated examples and different things that you can use to get it out there. And then the third one is as simple as asking. So utilize those resources that we have to spread your message far and wide. You'd all have these sorts of communication channels, whether it's through your social media, your Facebook, your Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and all the rest of it, or just as simple as putting a poster up in your clubhouse on the notice board with a QR code that sends people through to your donation page with the ASF. So 3 easy ways to get started. Just wanted to share a couple of success stories that we've had. Clubs that may look like yours out there that have done really well. So this one here, Red Hill Football Netball Club, really wanted to get involved to reduce the costs, help with the cost of coaching staff, training gear, equipment, different things. You can see there they want to improve netball courts, get the women's change facilities up to scratch, upgrade their ground lighting. We know that that's a big concern for a lot of clubs. New coaches boxes and their electronic scoreboard. So what they did was they actually went out and engaged people in some of the traditional fundraising methods that John sort of went through before, your sponsorship and membership and different things like that. But when they were having those conversations with those people, whether it was their current sponsors or their members, they also then asked them to add a donation onto their contribution. So and there's different ways that we can help facilitate that, but they engage people that they already had a direct relationship with at the club, and then they help those people become advocates of their fundraising to be able to get more in. They also ran some at-game awareness. Sorry, John, we'll just go back to Red Hill. They also ran some at-game awareness activations as well to help encourage donations. So when at the footy game or at the netball games and all that sort of stuff, over the PAs on the big screens, and in clubhouses, they put it up that they were doing it. Not a bad result. 97 grand raised so far against a target of 200K, and they haven't been fundraising with us for all that long, Red Hill. Another one, the next one, looking at Magpies and Killer Whales Water Polo Club. This one is more about an endowment fund or a future fund that was aiming to ensure longevity of the club in order to have income regularly coming through to help support different things like rep team, travel, access to their pool, rents and all that sort of stuff involved with that, some professional coaching. So basically what they did was they went out and they did some one-off donations to get the endowment fund established. So tried to target some of those people they knew within the club that maybe were a little bit more high net worth than some others, to get those one-off larger endowment funds to establish it. And then they turn those people into regular donors by asking them to set up a $22 monthly donation rolling on. So now we see all the time with the Magpies, Killer Whales, every month, $22 from a whole list of donors keeps coming through their system. They launched that project in 2019 and have raised about $125,000 for the club to help support some of those programs listed at top. So as you can see, there's the ability to do it. Some of those clubs might look like yours. As I say, there is no set, this is what you should expect to raise. It's all based on what the needs are for your club. And there's many different ways that we can do it. Endowment funds like this one, where there are multiple things that you want to be raising funds for to ensure that there's money there for them, or specific one-off projects like a new roller to start the cricket season, or new jerseys to start your rugby season, or whatever it may be. So it is really that simple. I know that's a lot in a short period, but there's plenty of information on our website, and we're more than happy to help out anybody that's interested. So thanks, John.
No, thanks, Ryan. That was great. Every time you jump on, there's a couple of extra little tips that even I learned. So that was really good. By all means, if you've got any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll come back to you at the end as well. Check out the website, asf.org.au as well. And we've also got a little 2-page get started flyer at the end, which we'll give you a link to as well. So that was great. I mean, the Australian Sports Foundation, like I mentioned before, they are one of the best kept secrets, and you can sort of see the sort of effect that with some strategy and targeted asking of the right people, it's just like volunteering. Donations is no different. If you don't ask, you don't get. And for a water polo club, I haven't seen this example before. For a water polo club to generate 125k is significant over that period of time. So yeah, I think that's fantastic. So we always say, I mean, it's like anything, it starts with structure. The first step to get into any sort of fundraiser, revenue stream, whatever you want to refer to it as, is to share the workload. Have someone overseeing each fundraiser, i.e. your ASF coordinator as an example, or ASF project manager, or whatever you want to refer to them as. Dedicated people enable success with the project. Have someone who can be the main contact for the Australian Sports Foundation and do all the back and forth and set up the project online, all those sort of things, and then drive it hard. Don't leave it up to those that are snowed under already. And often these projects do get left to those people, unfortunately. In there, we always like to share this one as well, because membership and sponsorship is a big part of what we do, and we've got separate webinars on those as well. And I liked how you touched on it briefly in there, Ryan. How membership and sponsorship can sometimes be better off steered through the Australian Sports Foundation, provided there is that no reciprocal value aspect, whether it's an add-on donation or if it's purely a donation as is, it may as well go through the Australian Sports Foundation. Same with sponsorship. If there's no reciprocal value or no assets being handed over, then often the individuals are better off just donating as an individual as opposed through the business. There's a lot of far more detail into that, but I know the ASF will be able to steer you guys in the right direction there.
We can absolutely help clubs out with anybody that's looking to add a donation component to either a membership or a sponsorship. I think the important thing there too, John, is that the biggest givers actually in corporate Australia are small to medium enterprise. So everybody would think it's your large banks and corporations and things like that. It's not actually the case. The best givers are those small to medium enterprise ones, the ones that the people on this webinar would be talking to every year about sponsoring the club or throwing a few bob their way to help do what they need to do. So
So yeah, there's plenty of examples, and I'm sure you guys can help out with this. But simple form with an add-on donation, or donation only through the Australian Sports Fund. There are plenty of ways you can skin this one and collect some of those tax deductible donations for everyone. So I think that it's been fantastic to get a bit more of an insight into the ASF. Like I said before, every time we do this, I learn something, let alone everyone else that jumps on here. And as we do every week, we'd like to go through some examples of how we can help your organisation. And Brent Ali from the Vic Country AFL Masters is one of those great success stories that we've had recently. So I just wanted to share some of his story and what they've the sort of the impact that's had on him as the president of quite a large competition in the Vic Country AFL Masters, and what it's done for him. So
what CLUBMAP has allowed us to do is to open the eyes and open the minds of our clubs within our competition as well. The clubs now come to me and go, hey, we really like this idea. You're guaranteed to get that one-on-one support. They will give you the time, they will give you the resources, and they will give you everything you need to succeed. It's made my life easier, number one, but number two, it has changed our league and the way that people within our league view themselves. It's a monumental shift in thinking. It's actually really invigorated in a very short space of time a group that were struggling to keep that momentum going. You don't know what you don't know. You pick up the phone, you organise a 20-minute session, and that 20 minutes will change your organisation and you will never look back.
So that's a great little testimonial about how the journey we've been on briefly with Brent and his team. I know that they've been able to even at a league level, organise a lot more volunteers, share the workload, all those sort of things that we touch on, which is fantastic. So how can we help your organisation? So with that combined 150 years of community club experience and decades of professional sport knowledge, and that's all we do is grab that knowledge and experience and simplify it down for community sport. And I just wanted to bring in Ricky, our club development expert. If you can jump off mute there, Rick, that'd be awesome.
On board, Jono.
Hey, Rick, how you going, mate?
Going well, fantastic. And thanks, Ryan. It's just such a privilege to hear you speak every time. And the work you're doing, the millions that you're helping community sport across the country is just magnificent. So the more we get to hear about the ASF, best kept secret in sport, the more successful more sporting clubs will be. So thanks again.
Thanks, Rick. Do you want to walk through some of the problems that these are all basically the list of common problems that you encounter all the time talking to clubs?
Absolutely. Look, we love getting a deeper understanding of clubs. So I do enjoy the chats with the clubs. What we do find is that regardless of the sport, regardless of the size of the club, the problems are pretty consistently the same pain points, hurdles and challenges. But whether it's a lack of formal structure, we always talk about the importance of that. And to quote 2D, until we get that right, it's hard work. So that's why we pursue that so well, to get that set up at the start. Like a direction, gee, that's a big one. Had a Zoom just before this one, really, and they're suffering for 10 years because of that lack of direction, and we hope that we can change it for them. Lack of people, too few doing too much. We know that's the case. The Australian Sports Foundation stats are showing that clearly. We hope to fix 77,000 volunteers have been lost to sport. So 1 in 4 are looking at closing the door. We're here to make sure clubs are thriving, not just surviving. So we can fix and change that, as Brent said. Lack of support, lack of energy, irrespective of the problem, we have a solution to your club's needs. And whether it's Brent or Luke, the quote down there, we just want people up and about, excited, the mojo back. We want the fun to be in community sport, running community sport. It's so valued in the community for physical aspects and mental aspects, and we want to make sure that stuff is happening. We generally are passionate about making clubs thrive. Whatever your problem, as I said, lack of funds, lack of success, lack of alignment's a big one. Jono, geez, it's big. Every call I have, there's just not that cohesion. They're not galvanised. Just gets down to no structure, gets down to no planning. I know it's simple, but We're here to fix that stuff, and lack of confidence in the club's future. That succession planning is so important. Having people coming up through the chain, easier ways to fundraise. You just said a word before, Jono. We're here to simplify things. We're here to make things easier. If there's 2 words I want our folk to remember tonight, we're here to make things easier, and we're here to make it more simpler to make your club thrive.
Thanks for that, Rick. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All the stories that come across from organisations, and again, if this is your first time tonight, going back to one of the earlier slides that we went through, the journey. If you're here just to have a listen to what we can provide, that's fantastic. But if you are feeling some burnout and feeling some pressure around your organisation, we're here to help. I've just thrown the link in the chat to directly book in a chat with Ricky at a time that suits you and your organisation. We always do suggest to bring someone else along. Sometimes it is quite hard to handle that message down the line, but at the same time, our range of services here in front of you, if planning workshops and growing volunteers, all of those things, growing volunteers, new ways to raise revenue, the ASF's one of them, but there are plenty of other ways that you can generate some revenue and fundraise smarter, not harder. Training workshops, our resources hub, which is full of training, educational videos, our webinar recordings like tonight, all the templates and those sort of things are really important. And the club health check, which I'll get to in a second, which if you haven't done one of those yet, we strongly recommend doing that one there. So, and then for those that are attending, I know that there's a few that have jumped on tonight from leagues, associations, governing bodies, and some councils. We do also help you to help your clubs as well. Strategic planning, independent reviews, business planning, but also tailored sport-related education on a range of different topics, and then general consulting and those sort of things as well, which can steer you in your organisation in the right direction. I'll put up a link to access this one in a second. But the free club health check, as it says there, you can't fix something if you don't know what's broken. You just don't know what you don't know. So a really in-depth survey into the 11 areas of admin and operations around your organisation gives you a detailed report and also a basic checklist action plan thing. So great way just to get an understanding of where your organisation is at and a few steps to take to move forward as well. So everyone gets access to the free health check. I'll throw a link in the chat shortly, but well worth the time and effort. If you are in the boat that hasn't had a chat to Rick yet or hasn't had a chat to any of us yet, and you think that we might be able to help in one of those areas, whether it's fundraising, planning, generating more volunteers, helping you set up your structure, helping you engage the ASF as an example, all of those different areas of club admin and operations, book in a free chat. No obligation, but it's well worth having a chinwag with Ricky, discussing where you're at, understanding and tailoring a solution that's best for your organisation. So the QR code's there, but the link is in the chat. So feel free to click on that or scan the QR code, book in a chat, and I will put the other link in the chat as well. So the clubmap.com.au, that is just our weekly thanks for attending. Links in there now. clubmap.com.au/thanks. That's just our weekly thanks for attending page. So that's got links to do the free club health check. It's got a link to book in a chat with Rick, but it's also got the summary and a brief little document from the ASF on it as well. So anyone could jump in there and check out the summary of tonight's webinar and some ASF information as well. But I will just bring up the poll quickly as well. For anyone that can't quite get that one to work and just wants us to reach out, would you like a free chat with us about your organisation? Great first step to just steer you in the right direction, as I said before. And if you'd like some more information on any of our services, but also if you would like some additional information from the ASF, you can tick that box as well. So if everyone could just again, spend 10 or 15 seconds. Feel free to just tick. We'd just like the webinar summary if that's you. But like I said before, if you are one of those organisations that would just like some extra, at very least, extra information, some steering in the right direction, or some added info from the ASF. Tick some boxes and see where we're at. As always, follow us on the socials, jump in the Facebook group, and a great little resource to access some information, grants, tips, bits and pieces on there as well. And next week, as we always say, always best to bring someone else from your club along. Planning for success, which is at the core of what we do with organisations. Strategic planning, operational, short-term planning, and revenue fundraise planning. That's all about next week. So will be well worth tuning in again.